I'd like to start this video off by saying that I am not a HVAC expert. I do not have any formal HVAC training, and everything in this video is for informational use only and is my experience with installing a LG mini split system on my own. So here, this is the first unit. This is in the kitchen. It's a that one is a 12K BTU indoor handler, and from here we go into the dining room, pardon the mess, living room, and my office. And in here we have another 12K unit. I definitely oversized what my house needed. My house is about a 2,000 square foot house. This is a bedroom. We'll keep that out of view. And in here we have a 9K BTU unit. We were lucky enough to have in the this is an unfinished bathroom on the first floor, and we were lucky enough to have an unfinished bathroom, so running all of the lines down into the basement was very easy and simple. We didn't have to destroy any walls. So this one is going into the game room office area, and this one is going into the bedroom and goes down into the basement. A little closer look, you have your condensate line here, and then you have your two Freon lines here. All of these are done with flare fittings, and I have two different types of line sets. At the time of filming, I'm still working on some of the stuff down in the basement, but here we have the two main lines coming into the branch box in the basement. So you have your this is the 7/8 or 3/4 inch copper line, and then this one is the, I believe, 3/8 line. And then here is the 220 cord coming in here, follows along down here to the branch box system. So I'm still working on doing insulation on the condensate lines here. I gotta finish up that because you have stuff like this, the water that comes off of it. Right now it's just going onto the floor, but once you put good insulation on there, you won't have that. Coming off of here, I have three different rooms here, Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie, and then that comes up here to each one of your different line sets. So the Charlie room, that is the kitchen. Bravo is the that one is the game room, and Alpha is the bedroom. And so the kitchen one goes back down that way and goes back outside the house that way, and then the other two go along here. Along here, and then that one goes up to the bedroom. And on the other side here, it's a little dark here, but this one comes up over here and goes up there towards the game room. Now, one thing that I would really recommend taking a little extra time to figure out the best way to do it, which I'm going to change this system up because it needs a little extra work, is the condensate system. So this is my current setup. Goes all the way over here and then just goes right into the drain. I'm gonna, when I have my next time to do it, I'm going to do a PVC setup that will run across the top here. Both of them will tie into it, and then it will all still drain right into there, or I also have the option of going into the drain where the washing machine goes into. The first time that I had this set up, I got essentially a big water bubble that made it so that when condensate tried to drain from the units up top, that it would drain very slowly, and the buildup was too much to where it would pour out of the units upstairs in little bit, like little drips here and there. So that's why I rearranged this. Before it was, they both connected to the one line that went over there, but now it's two separate lines that go over there. Again, doing a PVC setup will fix all of that, because you can have it at a slight downward angle and it will all drain. You won't get any air bubbles or anything like that. They'll have the same type of hookup, look just like this, and they'll be labeled as L1, L2, and S, or at least on the LG systems, and then also the ground as well. Upstairs we have a little bit of a different system. So upstairs we did the ceiling cassettes. Still need to finish putting on the grills on these. I have to cut a little bit more out of the ceiling here to make it so that it will sit a little bit lower. But that's coming up here in the next couple of days. So that one doesn't have the grate on. This one over here does. This one's actually running currently. You can hear it maybe just a little bit. It's pretty quiet. This is on its high setting, I guess. This one unit has been able to keep this whole upstairs about 70, probably 73 degrees. So this one is a 9K BTU unit. That one is a 9K, and then since this room is actually quite small, the one that's in this room is a only a 7K BTU unit. You got all the grates sitting on the ground. So these ones were a little bit more difficult to install, but the positive to them is that they have a condensate pump built into them, and so you don't have to worry about finding drainage paths and putting it into your walls and making sure that everything goes downhill. These actually have a pump built into them that will pump all the condensate out. Very handy as far as second floor installations, because you don't have to find a way to get down to the basement or run it on the outside of the house. Now this is on the second floor. This is the finished bathroom. That is the only access that I had into the attic this entire time. So it has been a bit painful, we'll say, to do all the work up there. We had to pull the actual units up into the attic through the holes that we cut for their installation. And right now I'll show you another thing real quick that we did that made the installation a lot more difficult than what it should have been, but it will make it look a lot nicer on the outside when we're all done. So here are the two main lines that come up from outside. So these two lines run all the way up into the attic from outside, and we'll get out there in a little bit. We tried running it from the attic down, out, and then down to the unit in one go. That clearly did not work. As you can see, we have a union in here. If I was to redo this and if I was to still run through this part of the roof, I would have just cut it right at the beginning, because it took several hours trying to feed this out there, trying to not get it to kink and all that stuff, and it just, hey, get out of there. No, get out of there. And it just took way too, it was such a pain in the ass, and to actually get it out there, we ended up kinking that side of the line 2 or 3 times before we decided, okay, just cut it, we'll get a new line set and put it in. But lesson learned. You know, it was only about $100 mistake, and now only on the 3/4 inch line set we have this union here, because the 3/4, you'll learn if you ever do this yourself, it is a pain in the ass to bend properly. The 3/8 and the 1/4 inch stuff, that stuff bends great. It's real easy to do. You don't really even need a pipe bender to do that, but with the 3/4, you have to have a pipe bender. Okay, it's still a complete mess up here in the attic from all the stuff that we did up here. I'm sure half the stuff that I did up here is probably the complete wrong way to do it, but, well, I did it myself and I did the best I could, so oh well. So here you got your 2 lines coming in from down in that closet in the bathroom that we just looked at. Comes up here and comes right into this branch box that we have set up here. I just have the metal tray underneath of it just to see if any condensate is forming. It's just kind of a small prevention thing that we've got going on, just in case we do end up having a little bit of water buildup or anything like that. Right now it looks like it's pretty dry. I put on extra insulation on all of these pipes so that we wouldn't get condensate dripping off of that. All right, that one's still bolted in. Obviously same setup on this branch box. A, B, and C all go to their different units. Right now only one of these units is actually running. So as you can see, there goes one of the Freon lines that way. We got one going to that far room, and we got one going to that. So now everything that I've seen, people have hung these units from the ceiling, and as much as I would like to do that, this was just a lot easier for what we were doing. Yeah, I'm probably a dumbass for doing it this way, but whatever, it's my house. Let's walk over to the one that is actually running. And let's see here. Can I turn on the light? There we are. So, looks like it's all still dry here. This is the first time I've been up here in a while, so. This unit's running right now. You can barely hear it. I'm gonna eventually cover it back up with insulation, just for winter and whatnot, but Freon lines come in, hook in there, electrical comes in on the back there, and then you have, this is your condensate line that comes off here, and there's a pump in there that will pump all of that condensate out so that it doesn't get all wet up here. As of right now, these are not screwed in. I'm going to be screwing those in shortly. I just haven't gotten to it yet. It's been a very long project. And yes, I know that electrical is bad. I will be putting in can lighting, because this used to be a fan where all of these units are, and I'm gonna put in can lights to replace the lighting. But in the meantime, there are electrical boxes up here that don't really look too good. All right, we're gonna go out to the unit outside and check that out. It's nice and quiet. That's the lines going to the basement. These are the lines going up into the attic, and then it goes from there up to the top. And then there's one more. This is the kitchen here. So I still have to connect the condensate line, but for the time being that's working just fine. And that goes down into the basement. I have line hide to cover all of this, but again, it's a very time intensive project to do this, and I just don't have the time to do it right now. It'll happen though soon. Okay, and here we have the inside of the condensing unit on the outside. I did my own wiring on this. Here are your communication lines that go out to your different branch boxes. So for mine, I chose the notation that the blue was going to be the communication, the orange was going to be the grounds, and then red and black was going to be L1 and L2. So those all go, one set goes to the basement, one set goes to the attic, and then here's the main power in. White's ground, L1, L2 are both power cables. Then up here, those switches up there, those are for setting your different modes. I just have it in a normal operation. You can find all the different modes in your manual that comes with the unit. Other than that, I didn't really have to do much in here. The only other thing was when I was pulling the initial vacuum and leak checking it and having the Freon put in, I had to adjust these three-way valves here. So the top of them here and here, those are used for hooking up your vacuum compressor or the meter that you use to fill the Freon in there. And you have to do it in short little bursts. You can't just do it in one go because you'll freeze the lines up. So you have to do short little bursts, like every couple seconds, to reach the additional charge that you need to put in there. After that, you can open up the discharge, which is underneath here, and that will release the Freon that's inside the unit. Wiring on the inside of one of the ceiling cassettes. So your wiring comes in through the back there and then hooks in here. Same system as the outdoor unit and the unit downstairs. You got your L1, L2, and then 3, also known as S, which is your communication wire. And then you have your ground over there. Every one of these units has its own little electrical schematic that you can see right there. And that's just, it's on every one of these. It's also in the manuals. If you can see back there, there's the white, black, and green connectors. That's where you're going to connect on your unit here. You got your black, your green, and your white. So those will hook directly into those spots, and that will give power to the front grille, the antenna for the wireless remote, and also give power to the little louvers that change direction based on where the cold air is. This is just hooked in with, let's drop my phone there. This is just hooked in with screws right there. And so we're going to button this back up, and then we'll go and talk about what this cost me, what it would have cost me, and all that stuff. Alright, so as promised, here we have the receipt for my purchase of all the different components that I bought and all the tools that I bought and whatnot from. I bought everything from eComfort. They had pretty good prices, and they were the only ones that I could find that was selling the LG mirror art units, which I think personally look the best. So here we got the main condenser here. I got a 60K BTU condenser for outside. Probably quite a bit overkill. With all of my units running at the same time on max settings, it would only be pulling 58K. So you could probably go all the way up to, I don't know, probably 75K BTUs on this unit. So a little overkill on that, but
by going to the 60K BTU unit, I got 21.5 SEER efficiency. So that was a benefit to going with the bigger unit. And you can look at all the different things I bought here. Now, I did end up, after buying this first round of things, I did end up buying one more cassette for that really small room that was upstairs, because in hindsight, I was thinking about it and it was like, well, if I ever want to add air conditioning to that room, I would have to purge all of the Freon from the system, reclaim it, pull a new vacuum after I got the new unit installed, and then I would have to re-put in all the Freon plus an additional charge, and it was just going to be way too much work to try to go back and then do that. No, that wasn't going to happen. So I decided to just spend, it was an extra $600 for me to do that extra room. So I figured, why not? Because it's just so hard to go back and add a zone after you've charged it. So it ended up coming out to about $9,500 in parts, and then I ended up paying my dad $1,000 to help me with the install. He was helping me run copper and also electrical lines and everything. He doesn't really have any experience in the HVAC world either, so it was a learning experience for both of us. So I did get a couple quotes before I decided to do this myself. I called pretty much every HVAC place in the area, and the best quote that I got was for 5 zones. It was going to be $18,500, and they wanted to do 5 outdoor condensers with 5 line sets going up the side of the house, and that would require 5 220 breakers in my breaker box. It was just going to be not very good looking, and 5 condensers to maintain. That is just outrageous. So I asked them if what it would cost to do what I did, and they said it was going to be around $30,000 to do what I did. And also the system that they wanted to do would have been only cooling. You could not heat with it. The system that I have, if I want to, I can use it for heating as well. However, I won't be using that because I've got a boiler unit, and the boiler unit is way more efficient. So yeah, I only wanted the 1 outdoor condenser, and I also did not want to spend the kind of money that they wanted to charge. One of the issues that I ran into with setting up the system was actually after I got everything installed, the entire system was ready to go, to get HVAC person to come out and pull the initial vacuum and put the initial charge in, or the additional charge in. I could not get anybody within a 60-mile radius to come out and do that. Every single person that I called, every company that I called, said, if we didn't install it, we're not even going to service it. And I asked them why, and they really did not have any answer. The best I could get was that, well, they didn't want to have the liability, but I would still be the installer, so that's not really a good reason as to why they wouldn't come out and at least, pull the initial vacuum. Eventually I got a buddy of mine to come out and do it, and that ended up taking a couple weeks to actually get him to come out and do it, because he's a busy guy. So let's see here. So my house, to put in perspective, is about a 2,000 square foot house. I think it's just under that, like 1980, something like that. There is no insulation in the walls. The only insulation that we have is up in the attic, covering that top floor. So no insulation in the house, and we've had a couple 80 to 85 days since I actually finished the install. And the downstairs, man, 72. I've got the unit set on 72, and it keeps the whole downstairs pretty much at about 72 degrees. The living room might go up to 73, but I mean it's pretty good. Um, the upstairs, again, we only have that one unit running right now. Eventually, we'll have the other two, but that one unit's able to keep the whole upstairs about 73 degrees. So they work pretty well. It keeps it pretty cool. Um, Obviously, once those other two units are in, or have the grill on and are working, uh, then that whole upstairs will be nice and cool as well. I haven't gotten an electric bill yet for uh, a month of running this. I'll have to check it out when I do end up getting it, but I'm hoping that it's nice and low. We used to cool the downstairs with window units, and then we wouldn't cool the upstairs at all, and that got pricey. So I'm hoping it's less than that. We'll see. So now we're going to move on to a list of things I wish I would have known. You need 3 people. Well, you don't need 3 people, but it would make it so much easier for running copper and running, if you're going to do one of these large scale systems with branch boxes and all that stuff. If you're just doing a single unit, well then go ahead and just have 2 people. But for a big unit like this, 3 people would help out a lot. I wish I would have researched the condensate lines a little bit more. I got all of my knowledge on how to do this off of YouTube. So it definitely is possible to learn how to do this, but condensate lines, I really didn't worry too much about that. I figured, it'll be fine. Well, now down in that basement, I have to redo the work that I did, which is fine. It won't take too much. I wish that I would have known how unhelpful HVAC people were going to be with doing the initial vacuum pull and the initial charge. There's really no reason to it. I called eComfort and asked them if they have a technician that can come out or something like that, but they are just a distributor, and that's what I expected. But they said that really the area that I'm at, which I'll just say, Illinois, is very bad at that. They said most of the other states, they seem to not really have too many issues with people getting somebody to come out and pull the initial vacuum and do the initial charge, but Illinois, for some reason, is just horrible as far as the HVAC help on that. Another thing, just buy the tools that you need. I got, as you can see on the screen here, I did buy the flaring kit through them, and that thing works fantastic. And yeah, you're looking at it and you're like, oh man, that's $100 that I could get away without spending, but that thing works great. And then get a good pipe cutter, a good deburrer. You gotta have a good deburrer. Make sure that you're not getting a bunch of copper dust or copper flakes in the lines. Make sure you're always clearing those out. Another thing, originally when I bought the cassettes, I was thinking that they would fit right in between the joists. They most definitely do not. If you look back in the video when I'm up in the attic and you're looking at it, we had to cut a joist and then build a box, a frame that it would sit in, and it was a lot of work up there. So make sure that whenever you're doing this, if you are in an attic, that you do it when it's cool outside, because we were up there in Tyvek suits and I sweat more in 3 days up there than I'd ever in my life. So I mean, it's definitely, you gotta have a nice cool day to do that on, or get some fans, whatever you need to do to cool it off. It was, I think, 65 outside, and up in that attic it felt like it was 100 degrees. Let's see. Oh, the pad that they sell. Let me see here if I can find it in the list here. right here, this condensate pad, do not buy that. That was a waste of money. That was a waste of $70. Get some patio blocks or whatever. This thing is made out of styrofoam. It's got some spray coating on the outside that makes it a little rigid, but it's not level. It it, it flexes like crazy. I mean, it is not a quality product. That's the only thing I really had an issue with throughout all the stuff that we bought. And then let's see, everything has a digital manual that you can look at, but then you also get a physical manual in the case when it shows up. And so I recommend downloading the PDAs, because you can buy them or you can download them without actually buying the units. Flip through it and make sure that you are ready to do that task. I mean, it's a lot of work to get all of this stuff set up, and knowing what you're getting into before you buy it is invaluable. So make sure that you go to their website and download the manuals and the instructions on how to actually install these units, and make sure that you're not, getting out of your depth there. I mean, honestly, it wasn't too bad. The install was pretty easy, but there were some things that you definitely need to take your time on and make sure that you're doing it right. So yeah, I'm just making this video though just because when I was looking up how to install these things, I couldn't find anything on the branch boxes. And the ones that I could find were on Mitsubishi. They didn't show the wiring. They didn't show, some of the stuff that I was really interested in. So I hope this is helpful for somebody. Thank you for watching, I guess.